Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Advanced Warfare in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at some EM1 tips and tricks. I don't have a full review of this weapon yet, as it's very difficult to get stats for, and the stats aren't decrypted, but I've been putting some work into it, trying to find some usefulness, and I found that it can indeed be a useful weapon, so I wanted to make a tip video for you. And before we get started, I wanted to say I feel like this has been slightly buffed since the Gamescom build that I've played, and that I don't think that this is ever going to be a hyper-competitive weapon. This is never going to be the best weapon in the game, and this is probably not going to be the weapon that, carries every team, but it's not useless. It's not terrible, it's not unviable. It can be a viable, fun weapon, and there definitely are ways to use it. Instead of thinking of it as a constant laser, you should probably think of it as a very high fire rate and very low damage weapon, because that's technically what it is. It's shooting game coded projectiles the same as everything else in the game, same as regular hit scans, just at a very high fire rate, very low damage, and it's got a very unique animation. So it's working like a normal gun, it's just you don't get to really see that. The second best use for this weapon is for long-range suppression. And when I say suppression, I don't mean that you're going to nuke people and get a ton of kills, but you're going to annoy them, harass them, get a lot of assists, and anybody that's weak, you're going to pick them off like flies, like a proper suppression weapon, which we don't have in very many Call of Duty games because that mechanic just previously has not been very rewarding, but it can be very dangerous at long ranges. And if you've been paying attention, I've been playing with Denial Zuma on the other team. I've been trying to, cook him as much as possible. It just makes me feel good when I kill pro players. The Foregrip is very helpful for this. Even though it is a laser, it does have recoil for some reason, and the recoil I do find to be a little bit difficult to control, or at least unpredictable. By the time I think I've mastered it, it's decided to change its mind and do something else. So the Foregrip is very helpful for mitigating the recoil. The recoil is still going to be there, but it's just, I don't know, I can work with it better, and I run the Foregrip on it. The best way to use this weapon, that was the second, this is where I think it really shines, is it is a beastly, and I mean absolutely beastly, unholy, ungodly monster of a hipfire weapon all the way up until medium range. Most hipfire weapons are like close range or bust. This one can actually do medium range and a smidgen of long range hipfire very, very accurately and allow you maximum mobility while doing it, and it is absolutely nasty while hipfiring, so I'd highly recommend you give that a go. And I do think that the stock is also a useful attachment at the maybe long and not extra long, sort of those intermediate ranges where you're not comfortable with hipfire and they're close enough to where the assault rifles are going to be getting you. The stock helps you kind of ADS and move around corners and gives you a higher degree of mobility, which is absolutely essential in Advanced Warfare. So I usually just run this gun with stock, and Foregrip heatsink is also nice, but I haven't got all the double kill medals yet because you're not going to be getting a lot of double kills with this weapon. And the default iron sights or built-in sort of red dots are, they work for me. I don't really need anything else. And I feel that medium burst work better than short burst. I thought that this weapon would overheat very quickly, and that I would need to do short little bursts of the laser to kind of prevent that, but I didn't find that to be much of a problem at all. As a matter of fact, I could hold it down what in most other games would be considered a long burst, but in this one it's a medium burst, a second, 2 seconds, second and a half, something like that, and it works fine. Just give it just a little bit of spacing to cool down and you'll almost never overheat. But again, I tell you, don't do it too short. Go a little crazy with it. Hold it down a little bit longer than you feel comfortable with, and it'll still perform just fine. And lastly, don't forget that you can manually cool off your gun by pressing the reload button. Depending on whatever system that is, that's going to open up your heatsink, expose it to air, it's going to rapidly cool, and you're going to be good to go. However, as long as you're doing medium bursts, and as long as you're not just absolutely putting a rubber band around the trigger, you're not going to overheat this weapon very often. As a matter of fact, I very rarely get overheats on it, but I just wanted to give you some tips with this weapon to make sure that it's viable, because it's a new fun addition to Call of Duty, and I kind of wanted to see it get a little bit love and not lumped into the category of absolute uselessness like a lot of the other special weapons. And again, definitely try the hipfire thing. That's where the money is on this one. That hipfire is absolutely nasty. Well guys, that's all for this episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. And you can also check out the previous episode, which is about how assault rifles don't sway. That's unique to this game. It's not in other Call of Duty games. And the next episode is yet another secret video that I don't want to reveal quite yet. Drifter out.